Yo, traders, how are we? Welcome to the live stream. Welcome back to Simply Forex. Hope you are all well. And as always, guys, we are going to do a few of the following things. We're going to take a look, first of all, at this reaction to the pound, right? And all of this bullishness we've seen in the pound. So we're going to understand all of this news, first of all. We are also going to take a look at a couple of trades. One I've taken profit, one I've closed early, and one I have just entered, right? So we're going to understand those three trades as well. And then, as always, guys, we're going to take as many of your questions as possible, right? So leave as many questions as you like about trading, and it can be to do with anything to do with trading, right? You can literally ask me about whatever you like, to be honest with you. Trading, football, personal life. I'm joking. Don't ask about my personal life. But yeah, just any questions you like, guys. So let's start with the trades that I have closed today, or partially closed some of them. So let's start with New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar. Let's start on a positive note. So this is the trade, and I've just taken some profit off of this trade. But let's understand it from a higher time frame perspective, right? Because as most of you know, guys, I trade a top-down approach, right? So I'm looking at the higher time frames for direction, and then I'm entering on the lower time frames. Typically the H4, sometimes the H1. Okay, let's ignore that. I believe that is an old signal. Okay, so this is just pound strength, guys. We're going to discuss this in a minute. Let's go back to my trades. And also, guys, can I please just tell you how much food I have just eaten? So bear with me. I've had a coffee, so I'm all right. But I am making a pig of myself in the Philippines, I must say. And can I just say, all the food is so fresh. Like, we had some meat the other day. It was, literally slaughtered that day. We've been picking crops, like literally from the back garden, and eating them. The fish we had the other day was literally caught that morning. You could not eat any fresher. But you are not here to talk about my eating habits in the Philippines. You are here to talk about trading. So let's carry on doing that. Right. So on the higher time frame, New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar was in this downtrend, right? And then it shot up and it became an uptrend. We started to get higher highs, right? And these lows kept holding. Now we have retraced all the way to the bottom of these lows, and all these wicks keep closing back within one another. So we haven't really broken this low. So we're still in an uptrend. And we got some nice, bullish reaction at this level. Now, you're probably thinking, Tom, this candle isn't super bullish, right? And it's not. I would agree with you because of this top wick here. However, right, if we look at the H4, a few things happened there that made me be a little aggressive with the trade and take it anyway. So let's drop down to the H4 and understand that. And it was basically this trend line, guys. And I've done a couple of tutorials in the VIP Trading Academy on trend lines, right? And you can just see it just kept obeying this trend line, kept obeying, but price just got more and more contracted, right? It's almost like a descending triangle. And price has to go somewhere, right? It has to. And then I basically we got this first candle, right, that broke out of this trend line. And then we got this second bullish candle. So that was enough. That was enough for me to start buying. There's enough buyers in this market. Buyers had taken control of the market. And also price started tracking above the moving average 20, which is also something I like to see with my trades. And then I got a slight retrace on this candle and I started buying in here. Stop loss below here, below this trend line. And then I took profit up to here. So I have just closed 80% profit today at this level. All right. And I'm going to let 20% run. Okay. So what this allowed me to do, because I also like Aussie dollar, Canadian dollar, and I don't really want to trade both of them at the same time because I'm doubling up on Canadian dollar weakness, right? So once I'd taken 80% out of this trade, it then allowed me to buy Aussie dollar, Canadian dollar, right? And we like this trade as well. Now, this one is a slightly different setup. But basically, we were in this uptrend, and then we've just been ranging, right? And this is where we were. So we're in an uptrend, right? These lows were holding, these highs are holding, range, okay? Excuse me, far too much to eat. Again, we had a nice big bullish candle, right? Form yesterday. And then on the H4, what I was really waiting for was a break of this resistance level. You can see price has reacted in here many times. Once we got this break today, you know, I just wanted to get into this trade. Yeah, and I waited for a little bit of a pullback. Okay, so we got a little bit of a pullback. You can see my trade. I started buying in here. Once it pulled back to this level, right? Stop loss down here. This will be my first target. Again, I'll probably take partial profit and then let some profit run back up to these highs as well. I might even let 100% of the trade go higher. I'm just conscious of this. If I can get this out of the way, which I can't, I'm just conscious of this 0.9 thousand big psychological level. So that's why I'm taking profit before this level. Although chances are it will make its way up to there. So they're my two Canadian dollar trades. One we've taken profit, one I am currently in. And for my third party trick, we are looking at Swiss franc yen. And I've closed this trade early. And how things are looking now, I wish I hadn't, right? But, you know, we can't trade in hindsight, right? You know, you get a lot of them on, you know, YouTube, right? They're like, oh, check out this trade that I did, right? You're like, did you, right? You know, you can only really trade in real time. And I'm going to show you my real time entries as well, just to show you. I actually got out of this, okay, because basically price had been just flirting around the moving average 20, right? It tried to break, but then come back down. But then it just rebounded at this last H4 low. Because it didn't break this low with this H4 candle and we bounced off it, I actually closed this trade basically here, right? As soon as that candle finished, I just, you know, I took about 8 pips out of the market. So we made a small profit, but, you know, nothing to write home about. And I got out of this trade early. Now, time will tell if this was a good idea or a bad idea. If this candle starts breaking this low, right, and we get a H4 candle that looks like this, I may even re-enter this trade, right, with a view to just taking it back down to these lows. So, yeah, that's me, guys. But remember, we are here to answer. When I say we, I'm not multi-personality. I haven't got multi-personalities. Couldn't say that very well. I don't know where I'm going with all of this, but please get your questions over to us, guys, right? Don't be shy. Ask as many questions as you like. And I just want to show you, I give you all of these trades, right, in real time. This is Swiss franc yen sell. Okay. You can see when I entered. I'm not too sure what time this is. Is this Filipino time or is it still on Dubai time? I have no idea what day of the week it is anymore or what time of day it is. Also, New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar buys. And I also tell you guys, right, if hit TP, let 20% run. And as you can see with the Swiss franc yen, I've closed that trade early. And this is the Aussie dollar Canadian buy trade that I've just gotten into. So yeah, guys, please, please get involved. Come join our VIP Trading Academy. You can do that by firstly joining our free Discord. So if you see the QR code on the screen, you can come join our free Discord and then you can become a member of the VIP. So please check that all out. Also, guys, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. I must keep remembering to say that. It's important. Right, that's me, guys. Enough about me. Let's talk about you guys. You are more important. So, hello, Brett. How are you? Pooh Poppy. Nice to see you back on track. Yes, thank you, Pooh Poppy. Yeah, we had a losing month in July. Again, I post all my results in the free Discord, right? So go check it out. But that was our first losing month of the year, right? We're still having a good year, but July was pretty bleak. And it shouldn't be bleak. July is sunny. So hi, Pooh Poppy. Hi, Tony. How are you? Annie, how are you? Hope you're enjoying your holiday. Yes, I am. Philippines is very beautiful, although the weather is crazy, right? It literally wiped out all the electronics the other day. It was like going, I was like in the Stone Age, but it was quite nice, for a while. It was quite nice. I had no internet, no electronics, couldn't even charge my phone. And I just sat there very zen and contemplated life. But yeah, it was nice. It was just, it's a nice way to chill. Phil, how are you? Where are you in the Philippines, Tom? I am up north. I am in Ilocos. Yeah, up north, Phil. So have you ever been? Luigi, hi, how are you, mate? Pooh Poppy is out of ideas this week. Well, let me help you with that. Michael, hi. And we've got a question here from Raphael. Raphael, check US oil longs at 4-hour and 1-hour timeframes for some upside rebound. All right, Raphael, let's take a look at the black gold. Let's have a look at West Texan. I always look at West Texan. I don't know why. I don't know why I look at, but I mean, look, they're very, very similar. Look at Brent. Look at West Texan. Right? Pretty much identical. So it doesn't matter which one we really look at. Now, the thing with oil at the moment, it's all about this weekly candle for me. Right? And let me explain, because on the day chart, right, we have broken this support level, right? If I just drag that down to include those lows, right? Yeah, you can clearly see we've broken all of these lows in here, which we know has been good support, right? It keeps bouncing off. And we got this candle that broke the lows. So we're now in a downtrend. We're getting lower lows. Now, that would suggest I want to sell it, right? If we looked at the day chart, breaking a key support level. But the thing is, like, it's Thursday today, just in case you weren't sure. And I do know what day of the week it is. Yeah, it's Thursday today. So we've only got one more day. And then we have the weekly candle. Because why am I saying this? Because this weekly candle, look, if we look at it right now, it is holding on to this support level, right? You can tell it was once good resistance. It's been good support. Now, if this weekly candle finishes like this, or even finishes like, we get more of a bounce off, we end up with a candle like this, then all of a sudden, oil is looking like a buy trade, right? So I'm holding judgment on oil until this weekly candle finishes. Now, if it finishes like this, right, I'm a seller of oil. If it finishes like this, as I just showed you, I'm a buyer of oil. That's how important this level is, right? So yeah, I know the dailies broke it, but I'm going to wait for that weekly to tell me what to do with oil. But Raphael was talking about the H4, and okay, right. So he's basically looking at this level. Yeah, I get it, right? What was once support, when it retraces, becomes good resistance. However, Raphael, look at that last H4 candle. That is pretty bullish. That suggests to me that it doesn't want to react at this level, right? Yeah, you've got to read the candles. It, of course, right? When price could do this, run out of screen, price could do that. But what I'm telling you is I wouldn't be selling into that H4 candle. On the H1, it might look like a little different. Yeah, we're getting a bearish reaction here, right? But, are we starting to see higher lows on the H1, right? So oil, I'm not trading oil, looking at oil until that weekly candle's finished. Then I'm going to make a decision on the direction. So I hope that helps Raphael, one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I believe. Who can name all of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles right now? Go. I used to like a bit of that growing up. A bit of Shredder, a bit of Splinter. Thundercats. Who remembers Thundercats? No, I am showing my age. Right, enough about cartoons. Let's get back into trading. Right, we've got some more questions here. Okay, so we've got a question here from Irakanda. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Hey, Tom, if you have 4-hour good setup, let's say a sell is a good setup on the H4, but H1 is the opposite, would you enter the trade on the H1 time break of structure? Okay, I get your question, right? So let's do or maybe we can let's do a theoretical answer, right? I totally understand your question. So if H4 is doing this, right, and we're here, okay, but on the H1, we've got this, right? And we're basically here. So this is the H1, right? And this is the H4. So what Iran Kunda is saying, I like your name. I like names that I can't get my mouth around and pronounce. Anyway, right? So H4. So to be quite frank, H4 trumps the H1. H4 is the authoritative figure here, right? And the H4 is what I'm going to abide. Now, let's imagine we're in this situation. Okay, you've got H4 looking like this and H1 looking like this. Now, sorry guys, I've eaten so much, it's just repeating on me. Now, H4 is like this, okay? Now, we're getting a trend line up like this. I really like this entry. You could just start buying here and put your stop loss below this low here, right? With a view to taking it back up to here. That would be a perfectly good trade. Now, even if the H1 was in a downtrend, I would take that trade because it's such a nice H4 setup. Right, we've got a deep retrace, we've got nice risk to reward, we've got a trend line, we're in an uptrend, lots of things to like, right? And I would go against H1 trend. Now, if you really wanted to, I don't like using the word the perfect entry, right? But the perfect entry would be if you also wait for a break of the H1. So let's say price does this, right? And breaks this level right here. Then all of a sudden we've got this chart looking like this, and we're about here. Now, this previous trade, I would buy here and put my stop loss here. But on this example, if I've waited for the H1 to break as well, and price has obviously left this trend line because we've waited for the H1 break, I would then start buying at this level, right, which would appear here on the H4 chart. And then I would put my stop loss below this low because we've waited for that H1 structure break and we have greater confluence, right? So, yeah, that's how I would trade it. And everything's a bit of a trade-off, right? If you get in early on the H4, then you have to put your stop loss below the last low, right? And just killing a bug. You won't believe the wildlife in this country. I have got bitten like a million times. Anyway, yeah, so if it just comes to a H4 entry, I can enter, but I need to put my stop loss below the swing low. If I get a nice H4 entry point and we get a H1 structure break, then I can be a little bit tighter with my stop loss and put it below the last low here where price bounced off. I hope that makes sense, Irankunda. I like your name. So yeah, there you go, guys. That is a little bit of a textbook. That's what a textbook would teach you. What else we got? Okay, Irankunda, you are flying in with the questions. No problem. I enjoy questions. They are my fuel. Okay, so that's the question I've just done. Okay, sorry, they're all the same question. So I hope that helps answer your question. Poo Poppy, yes, I'm old too. Thank you, Poo Poppy, for reminding me. Niraj, how are you? Brett, Thundercats were fantastic. Yes, they were. Right, guys, please don't forget to keep getting all your questions over to me. Your questions are my fuel. So please leave as many questions as you like. A little thing I want to look at now is the economic calendar, right? Because we had this pound news come out earlier on. And I'm going to explain why we had a real big push in the pound. Because if we go to any pound pair, let's go to pound US dollar, because I really liked this daily level. Let's ignore this, right? Before we got all of this pound strength, look at this little bad boy of a level, right? Come back into here. Really interested to get a structure break and start selling. But as we know, pound has become stronger than Jackie Chan. All right. Now, you look at any pound pair, pound Aussie dollar, pound CAD, pound Swiss franc, pound yen. Why is pound so strong, yet the interest rate was as expected? And it's basically because of these voting members, right? These figures in here are very, very important, especially when you have such a big miss on expectations. So the forecast said that 8 of the 9 voting members were going to say they will have a rate cut in August as well, right? We've had a rate cut in July, right? We will have another rate cut in August. So that they predicted 8 members would say that. But it was actually only 5 members, which makes a rate cut in August less likely. The forecast said it was like a foregone conclusion, we'll get another rate cut in August. But all of a sudden, these voting members have changed their tune, right? And they're like, no, we don't think we do need a rate cut, right? And this change in members is what is giving the pound all of its strength, right? Because another rate cut, generally speaking, the higher the interest rate, the more expensive the currency, right? So this was suggesting we'll have another rate cut and therefore perhaps the pound becomes weaker, right? But this suggested, no, we're not going to have a rate cut. And that suggests strength in the pound because we are not decreasing interest rates further. And that is why we are seeing this massive pound strength in the market. Now, when I see this in the markets, right, I really like this battle between data that we've just seen, fundamentals, basically, like interest rates, CPI, but interest rates in this situation. This is fundamental, right, interest rate data versus a key technical level. So if we go to the day chart, right, you will see that, we've got the moving average 20, we got support becomes resistance. This, without news, would have been a really nice level. So what I want, and keep an eye out for it yourselves, guys. What will happen with pound US dollar at this level, right? It'll be interesting to see if we end up getting a bit of a wick rejection and a candle that looks like this. If we get that, I'm still very much interested in selling pound US dollar. So there you go, guys. That is the pound. Right, what else are we looking at? Cop prod, where the hell have you been? Tom, my friend, hope you're doing well. My apologies for my absence. It is unacceptable, your absence. I've been working a lot to pay for my wedding in December. Sadly, I couldn't join the live chats because of that. Cop prod, congratulations on getting married in December. I hope it all goes well. Yeah, I was about to say a bride. I was a COVID wedding. So we ended up buggering off to the Seychelles and just doing a beach wedding, me and the missus. So there you go. Thought I'd share that with you. Yeah, Coprod, hope it all goes well. If you need a best man, look no further. I'll come up with a speech, no problem. What else have we got here? Any more questions? Okay. So, right, we've got news in literally 2 minutes as well, guys. So we're going to keep an eye on some of the US dollar pairs. Bear with me, guys. I was looking at a little strategy. All my strategies, guys, I share in the VIP Trading Academy. And while I'm on the subject, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, smash the notification button and smash the like button. Also, guys, please go check out the website. You've got all of our premium trading education, including the course, including the VIP Trading Academy, including my mentorship program where I coach you one-on-one, and including our new price action indicator, where our members have been getting some great results. So go check that all out on the website, www.simply-forex.com. And also, guys, please come join our free Discord. It's a trading community. You can share knowledge and ideas. So come join that. You can see the QR code there right now. Also, guys, today's live stream is brought to you by Pepperstone. And if you use our link and sign up with Pepperstone right now, we are going to give you the following. We are going to give you free access to our VIP Trading Academy. Free, right? We're also going to give you a free Essential Trading View subscription for free. All you need to do is sign up with Pepperstone and switch your broker today. Check it all out. All the information is in the live stream somewhere, and it's also in our free Discord. Right, that ties me in nicely into the news. Let's play Guess the News game in 3, 2, 1. Okay, not much happening with euro US dollar. Let's have a look at pound US dollar. Probably not a good one to look at because that's just super strong. Okay, New Zealand dollar strength, so a little bit of US dollar weakness. Let's have a look at US dollar CAD. Okay, little bit of US dollar weakness, US dollar Swiss franc, little bit of US dollar weakness, US dollar yen, quite a lot of US dollar weakness. We're also seeing some yen strength all of a sudden, which is quite annoying because I closed my Swiss franc yen trade quite early. Let's just take a quick look at that. Yes, very annoying. Okay, wish I hadn't closed that early. Woulda, shoulda, coulda. So, guys, let's have a look at Aussie dollar, US dollar. Okay, that's a little bit different. I'm going to say the news was as expected. Totally wrong. So, continuing jobless claims, worse than expected. Initial jobless claims, worse than expected. I mean, these are 2-star ratings, better than expected. But yeah, you would expect a little bit of US dollar weakness off the back of this. Let's go back to the charts. But we're not really seeing that, guys. We're not seeing US dollar weakness. If anything, we're seeing US dollar strength. And that's always a good indicator of when bigger things are at play, right? So, you know, when, like now, right? Let's say it was more important news like CPI or interest rates, right? And they're better than expected or whatever, right? But then the US dollar just ignores it, right? And just does what it wants. That's when you need to be aware. Bigger things are at play when currencies start ignoring the news. So US dollar is pretty much doing that right now, right? So are we going to start seeing this US dollar strength? We'll take a look again in a minute. Let's take a look at my trades because, you know, sometimes these New Zealand CAD. Okay, so all right, Aussie dollar CAD. Okay, so looking good so far. All right, all good with them. Yeah, Swiss franc yen. Okay, wish I hadn't gone out of that early. Let's take a look at what the indices are doing on the back of that news. So look at the Dow Jones. Okay, the indices are still quite bullish, which was another reason why I wasn't keen on holding on to that Swiss franc yen trade, right? The indices are bullish, and if the indices are bullish, right, yen is typically quite weak, right? Nasdaq is bullish, right? So yeah, we'll see. It'll be interesting to see what the indices do back at these highs, right? Because we had a big sell-off. How will it react again? You know, is it potentially, you know, a double top, right? And then we see price come back down. We shall see. And if we do see that, we're going to see, get my teeth in, we're going to see sustained yen strength if that starts bouncing off these highs. Let's have a look at yen. Actually, let's see if we've got any more questions coming in, guys. Okay, no more questions. Guys, please leave as many questions as you like. Ask me anything you want to know about trading. And it can be anything. It can be strategy, psychology, money and risk management. It could be candlesticks. It could be support and resistance. It could be trend lines. It could be risk management. It could be trade management. It could be trade entries. There are so many things we can talk about. So don't be shy. Ask me questions. You can even ask me general knowledge questions if you really want, guys. Somebody hit me with a capital city. See if I get it. Let's see if we're seeing this yen strength across all pairs. because they're on the daily, things are at really interesting levels with yen pairs. This is Aussie dollar yen day chart. We've retraced, right? You've got the moving average 20 coming round, starting to be real interesting in here. The problem with some of these yen pairs now, though, okay, is that the H4 has been building up, right? Yeah, we've got this, right? So the H4s, you know, are in an uptrend. You will see I have an alarm in here, right? And I'll be very much interested in selling Aussie dollar yen if we end up with something like this and we break a low. So yen pairs are interesting at the moment. Okay, I've got to answer this. We've got a capital city question. Capital of Switzerland, I believe that is Bern. Is that correct? If I'm correct, what do I win, Brett? Do I win anything like a week in the Maldives or something? So let's see across. Good, got it right. I love a quiz. I'm part of a quiz team. Admittedly, not the strongest member, but I do all right. CAD yen's a real interesting one, actually, guys. Right on the, I can't remember who brought it up in the live stream the other day. This is a real interesting situation right now because we've got this trend line. This is the day chart, right? We've got this trend line, and we've literally bounced off it again. The problem with it is, obviously, I don't want to start buying into this resistance level, right? Because if we look at the day chart, we've broken down, right? So we are in a downtrend. Okay, so it's a real interesting predicament at the moment. So what do I want to see? You can see my alarm in here. If we start getting breaks of this level, I would potentially be interested in buying Canadian dollar yen. But potentially, again, if we look at the weekly candle, I know the weekly's super bearish, look. So it's a tricky one. It's a real interesting area in here, CAD yen. Right, you can see the weekly respecting this trend line, but this candle's difficult to buy into. But if we end up with a nice big bullish weekly candle, looks something like this, I would be interested in buying CAD yen, which goes against a bit of the grain with yen pairs at the moment. Okay, Pooh Poppy's got an interesting question here. I love a question. If you lived in Norway paying high capital gains tax and had a house in New Zealand, would you try to pay off your house quickly to gain access to lower taxes? Christ, Pooh Poppy, I'm confused already. If you live in Norway paying high capital gains tax and had a house in New Zealand, would you try to pay off your house quickly to gain access to lower taxes? So, generally speaking, don't pay off anything, right? Use the bank's money, right? Who's the guy, Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Who's the guy who does that book, right? He's an interesting guy, right? And he's just like, money is debt. He's like, the paper money isn't worth anything. They just print more. And, he's right. You've got a point. So, why not use the bank's money to buy a house? Don't use your own money to pay it off, right? What you should do with your own money is buy another house and not pay off the one in New Zealand or wherever you have a house. Or you should start buying high dividend stocks, right? Passive income. Or you should use your money to open up a cleaning company, or a dog walking company, right? Which requires very little effort from you. The older, I've always been that way inclined, but I just keep thinking passive income. And thankfully I made a few decisions when I was younger and that's what it's all about. So use the bank's money, don't pay off a house, go get another house,